The year 1989 was a historic one. Although there were plenty of things happening during the year, nothing was as monumental as what happened toward the end. The tensions with Russia were subsiding, and the end of the Cold War was in sight. In addition, there was dancing in the streets of both West and East Berlin as others chipped away with sledgehammers at the graffiti-splattered Berlin Wall. The sight of that wall coming down was an important and symbolic event, even for Americans. On January 24th, serial killer Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair in Florida. Before his execution, a tearful Bundy confessed to more than 20 murders of girls and young women, including 11 in Washington between 1973 and 1978. On January 26th, the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, also known as AT&T, reported their first ever annual loss in its 103-year history. The decision to speed up and modernize their long-distance system was to blame, which led to the $1.67 billion loss. On February 10th, the World Wrestling Federation admitted that pro wrestling was entertainment and not a sport, in order to gain deregulation in a New Jersey court. During the civil lawsuit, Vince McMahon testified under oath that their wrestling product was pre-scripted. On February 26th, the only coach the Dallas Cowboys had ever known, Tom Landry, was fired after 29 seasons. Landry's Hall of Fame resume included 250 wins and 2 Lombardi trophies. The move came just 2 days after the Cowboys were purchased by Jerry Jones. Jones, who played college football at Arkansas, named his teammate Jimmy Johnson as the new coach. Johnson, at the time, was the coach of the University of Miami and had won the national title in 1987. On February 26th, 60 Minutes aired a report claiming that apples sprayed with the chemical Alar may cause cancer in children, which led many schools across the country to remove apples from their cafeterias. The Environmental Protection Agency would later ban it because long-term exposure to Alar did pose an unacceptable risk to the public health. On March 24th, the Exxon Valdez oil tanker struck a reef in Alaska's Prince William Sound, tearing open the ship's hull, causing 11 million gallons of crude oil to spill into the water. At the time, it was the largest single oil spill in U.S. waters, and initial attempts to contain the spill failed. In the months that followed, the oil slick spread, eventually covering 1,300 miles of coastline. On April 19th, in New York City's Central Park, a jogger named Tricia Miley was attacked while jogging. The attack was so brutal that she remained in a coma for 2 weeks, and her identity was kept secret for years, as she became known simply as the Central Park Jogger. The case was national news, and quickly 5 teenagers from Harlem were arrested. The case was racially charged, as the teens were black and Hispanic, and the victim was white. The Central Park Five would spend more than a decade behind bars before DNA evidence revealed they were wrongly convicted of the crime. On May 24th, the 3rd installment of the Indiana Jones franchise was released in theaters. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade starred Harrison Ford and introduced Sean Connery as Indy's father. The action-adventure sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark had Indiana searching for his father, who is captured by Nazis as he pursues the Holy Grail. On June 23rd, Tim Burton's Batman opened in theaters and convinced moviegoers that Michael Keaton was a perfect choice for the Caped Crusader. The film also starred Jack Nicholson in one of his most memorable roles as the Joker. Within the first 10 days of being released, the movie grossed $100 million. On July 5th, the television show Seinfeld premiered on NBC. The pilot episode was being used as a summer rerun filler and was initially called The Seinfeld Chronicles. The Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld creation was still a work in progress, with only Seinfeld and Jason Alexander's character George being consistent with later episodes. During that first episode, Kramer was named Kessler, and Elaine didn't even exist. On July 31st, Nintendo's Game Boy was released in North America. The handheld gaming device was bundled with the game Tetris and became a massive success, selling 40,000 units on its first day. On August 24th, baseball's all-time hit leader, Pete Rose, agreed to a lifetime ban from the sport following allegations of illegal gambling, thereby preventing him from being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. That night, Rose appeared on the Home Shopping Network selling autographed baseballs. On September 21st, Hurricane Hugo made landfall just north of Charleston, South Carolina. The Category 4 storm with sustained winds of 135 miles per hour was the worst natural disaster in South Carolina history, killing 86 people and causing $7 billion in damage. On October 17th, a 6.9 magnitude earthquake devastated the San Francisco Bay Area. During the pregame activities of Game 3 of the World Series between the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland Athletics, many watched the earthquake live on television. The 15-second quake not only caused extensive damage throughout the city, but it killed 63 people and injured thousands more. On November 17th, Walt Disney released their 28th feature film, The Little Mermaid. The movie, along with its amazing musical soundtrack, became one of Disney's biggest financial successes and led to a Disney Renaissance, which would see the release of more animated Disney musicals throughout the 1990s. On December 3rd, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev and President George Bush declared the Cold War was over during a summit held on a Russian passenger ship. At the joint press conference, President Bush spoke about his hopes for a cooperative U.S.-Soviet relationship moving forward. To finish out the year, on December 29th, Jane Pauley said goodbye to NBC's Today Show to pursue a primetime show for NBC. Following a nostalgic review of her 13 years on the show, Jane Pauley bid a tearful farewell to Today Show viewers. Deborah Norville was hired to replace Pauley as Bryant Gumbel's co-anchor.